Hello, and welcome to the Leading Life podcast. Today we got a special guest. We're going to talk about breaking through barriers and believing in yourself. Welcome to Leading Life, the show all about living to the fullest and leading life on your terms.
You will learn tips, tools, and strategies for achieving total personal transformation.
I'm Bren.
And I'm Cam.
This is Leading Life. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Leading Life podcast. Today we got a special guest. We're going to be talking about believing in yourself. We're going to talk about breaking through barriers. But before we get into any of that, let me tell you a little bit about what we've been up to. Me personally, man, just been working on writing. Been lots of writing blogs, writing books. Yeah, but I'm ready to get back on the show and do that. How you doing, Cam? What have you been up to?
So, what was the question? What did you ask?
What have you been up to, man? How are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling better than ever, my friend. I have a glass of water. I left my cup at my buddy's place. I have this mask of Clark Kent. He's hilarious. I should actually wear him for a bit. And then, what else did I do? I've been playing a lot of music, too. And I'm moving. I'm moving to Brennan's place. I'm so pumped, dude. I'm going to be living in your basement. And we're gonna be able to work together a lot more, so I'm really excited for that. Brennan, what have you been up to? Wait, you already said it. Never mind.
Well, let's introduce our guest here, Tony. We actually met Tony through Andrea. Andrea's known Tony for a little while. So yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I feel like we've been trying to get you on the show for a couple of weeks now, and we finally made it happen. So Tony, tell us about yourself, man. How'd you get on the Leading Life podcast?
Thanks a lot. Yeah. So like I said, I kind of got introduced to you guys through Andrea, and we just met on social media, connected over our stories. She's had an awesome physical transformation, and that's kind of how we initially connected because I've had a little bit of one myself, and I kind of work in the health and fitness coaching industry right now. And so yeah, that's how we initially connected, and she's awesome, and I'm glad she brought me over here with you guys.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, like we got to basically see the whole transformation that Andrea had. Like it was around this time last year, maybe a little bit longer, that she, first embarked on this journey. And then, yeah, she's come such a long way, and I'm glad she introduced us to you. So could you tell us a little bit about your health transformation? Where were you at?
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't have anything nearly as crazy as hers. Mine was kind of more into the point of, this call, breaking through barriers and believing in yourself, was more like on the mental side of it all, but, getting past that. But initially, in terms of the physical transformation, I was an athlete in high school, went to college, kind of got away from that, focused on studies, jobs, everything you're kind of supposed to do. And I was an athlete in high school. Went into the corporate world right after college, and there I kind of, work became life and life became work. And I fell into just, what I was supposed to do. I got a degree in accounting, went to public accounting, became a CPA, and just worked a lot and, put on a good 20 pounds probably in doing that, and just was leading a pretty exhausted, unfulfilled kind of life. And so, at that point, I kind of accepted that that's how it was going to be. But I did always have fitness as a hobby in my background. I joined a gym when I started working because I needed something, and work kind of took that over sometimes. But I went back to that because it was something I started to become passionate about, and something that I could kind of justify making time for me to do every day, because it was for me. And so then it was probably about 6 years into my professional career, and I just got to the point where I realized that I was living this completely unfulfilled life, from a professional standpoint, and from a personal standpoint, because all I did was really work. And I kind of connected with an old acquaintance through social media, who was in the fitness coaching industry, I guess you would say. And I didn't know her personally, but we had kind of mutual friends, and she was loving life. So I was like, what does this girl got that I don't have? So I connected with her, and just got into the whole health and fitness coaching aspect of it. And that's when I really made my transformation. That's when I kind of started digging into, like personal development and this whole world, and realizing that there was like a whole lot more to just, to being healthy and living life than to just like working out and working. So that in a nutshell is kind of how I got into it. And then that was about 2 years ago. So now I've I kind of do both now. I still work as an accountant, and I've just been digging into developing, myself inside out, and trying to help other people do the same thing.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love how, it's interesting. I always find it really interesting when people first step into this personal development world. You know what I mean? Because I mean, when me and Cameron first heard about, Think and Grow Rich, the book, and like Tony Robbins and all these like amazing people who are helping people change their lives. When we first heard about this, it was like Cameron, how would you explain that? Like, it was amazing.
Oh, dude, it's like it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. It's like you find something, a whole nother world that you didn't know existed, and it's like it's the most fulfilling thing ever, because you're in school and you're constantly learning about things you really don't care about. I mean, sometimes people do care about what they learn in school, but for me personally, I did not enjoy what I learned in school. So once I started learning things that could literally change my life, I was hooked. I was like, dude, every time I learn something new, my life gets better. My relationships with my friends get better. I'm happier, and like I can accomplish more, and I'm just like more fulfilled. It's awesome, man. Like it's different from it's a different form of entertainment for me. Like that's seriously entertaining. Like reading a book about meditation is entertaining for me. Reading a book about health is entertaining for me, because it's like I'm actually getting value. It's not just like, I think of like TV and video games like a sparkler. Like you light it and it's just, you're burning away all the fun. And then once it's out, you're just like, well, that was cool. Like nothing's changed in my life. The sparkler is out and I have to light another one if I want to keep having fun, right? I have to play another game. I have to watch another episode. But when you're reading books, it's like it opens doorways. Every time you read a new book, it opens a doorway to 5 more books, and then there's 15 more books after that. And this goes with videos and podcast episodes and conversations, whatever. Anything that actually gives you value. And dude, like for me, it's funny because like me and Brennan were at 2 different points. Like I started a little bit earlier than Brennan, and he was going through a really like rough patch because we just quit the band. And I locked myself in my room with like food and like coffee and video games, but I also had books and audio programs and like audiobooks and podcasts and notebooks, and I was learning the entire time, right? So while I'm playing video games, I'm listening to something. I'm like drawing a cartoon, I'm listening to something. And I locked myself away for like a month. And Brennan did the same thing, except he had drugs, food, video games, TV, and
Yeah, I did. But what I find super interesting is like this whole personal development world is definitely not for everybody, but I find it's especially for people who are going through tough times. Because I mean, I had heard about personal development, I learned about self-improvement, self-help a little bit, a few years before any of that situation, and I just wasn't into it. Like I just didn't get it. I just didn't accept it. I don't know what it was. But there come a point where I was just feeling so much pain in my life, so much suffering, that I had no choice. I was just completely open-minded to this. And I'm sure you went through something like this too, Tony. So could you tell us a little bit about some of the barriers that you were experiencing, and what helped you break through those barriers so that you could finally believe in yourself?
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, like I was exactly the same way when I started this whole thing, and I connected with my coach. I was like, she was like, okay, so personal development, like check into this, like read, be reading something, listening to something every day. And I like straight up refused it. I was like, yeah, okay, that's nice. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's, in my head, I was like, that's for broken people. Like broken people need, and I'm not broken. Like that was like kind of what my mindset was. And it's not like a proud mindset, but that's where it was at. I was like, I don't need that. Like I'm here, like show me what I have to do to like be successful, and but don't tell me to do personal development. And that's really where I was. And I mean, she was patient with me, and I finally kind of, got to the point where I was like, looking myself in the mirror, and it's like, all right, like you can have another 40 years of, where you are right now doing the same thing, day in and day out, or you could change something. And if you're going to change something, you have to do something different than you're doing right now. And so like I guess the first thing for me, like in kind of like breaking through those barriers was identifying them. Right, because like we kind of go through this whole thing where like for me, like I didn't think I had any, like I didn't think I needed it, I didn't think I had any problems. So like for example, and I guess everybody would be different, but like I was kind of stuck in my life, which was good on the outside, like I had a good job and everything, but I was kind of playing by the rules of society and what I think what my parents would expect from me and society would expect from me. And, like, bless, my parents were awesome. They always encouraged us to like do what made us happy, this, that, and the other thing. But, I kind of made up myself, like what I thought would make other people happy. So I had to kind of identify like what exactly was holding me back and why I was holding me back. What was it actually? Was it true, or was it something I was kind of like just perpetuating in my own head, if that makes sense? Go ahead.
Oh no, it definitely makes sense, man. Like the thing about barriers is it's usually, like you said, it's usually has something to do with your mindset, some sort of belief you have, or some sort of way that you've been conditioned for so long. And oftentimes because it's conditioned, because it's been there for so long, we just don't even think about it. We don't even realize it's there until we take some sort of intro, some sort of inner journey, or somebody points something out, or some sort of big experience happens, and then all of a sudden everything's changed, and we really have to see things differently or think of things differently. So that makes a lot of sense to me, man.
Yeah, for sure. So that was like my biggest thing first, just kind of identifying them, and then just kind of like flipping the switch on them, so to speak, like, just really through like, personal development and all this stuff, like kind of thinking about like, what was actually the truth in them and what wasn't true in them. And just kind of flipping it and kind of creating new truths or new concepts for me to like latch onto that weren't holding me back. Pretty much the opposite of what I was doing.
Like, so we're talking about breaking through barriers. I think what you're trying to say is like you need to become aware of what those barriers are. So it's kind of like it's almost like a belief that you have, and once you realize how stupid that belief is, it's something just clicks, and you never look at it the same way. It's like you watch a movie and you notice something happening in the background and it's really important to the story. Once you rewatch it, you can't unsee that. Like, it's there. And that goes with so many like TV shows, movies, even paintings. Like, you see a little thing and you can never unsee it. Or this looks like a face, and now every time I look at it, I see a face, and it just can't get out of my mind. And that's basically what it is once we become aware of what those beliefs are. Like, for me, like my belief around just veganism in general was completely shattered when I forget which documentary it was, but they show like what the industry is all about, how they're making money, what they're doing to the planet, what they're doing to the animals, and something clicked, and I can never look at a burger the same way ever again. And I think that's the most important thing you need to do with those barriers, is really become aware of exactly what they're doing to you, all the negative aspects, and really feel that. And I think even then, like intellectually, you'll kind of like feel it in your body, in your gut, like you'll have to change at that point. Like, it's like when you I forget I don't know what story this was, but like there was a father who smoked, right? And the only reason he quit is because his daughter said something really adorable. She was like, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, I don't want you to die like grandpa did, or something like that. I don't want to lose you. And right away he was like, he felt it emotionally, and he's like, all right, I'm done smoking. Like, I'm not addicted anymore. So if you become aware and you emotionalize it, breaking through barriers can be so easy.
That's it right there, man. It's the emotionalizing process. Realizing like That's the thing, is so many things happen to us in life, or we see so many things, we take in so much information, and it just becomes intellectual. It just kind of sits in our head and ruminates for a little while, but nothing changes until it hits your heart. That's when you finally kind of recognize that there's something going on here, that something's not right. um so Tony, man, could you tell us like about one of the biggest barriers that you've had to face, and what you did to break through that?
Oh man, that's a good one. Well, I mean, I guess it's the other half of this topic. I guess, like for me, my biggest barrier was self belief and and confidence. I guess, because that was like the thing that was like the number one thing that held me back. Even when I, like Kim said, like made that emotional connection. Like I need to change. I need to do something different. I didn't believe that I could. I told myself I was going to do it. I told myself I was going to do it, but like there's something in my head like didn't believe I could do it. It was like always self doubting, always double thinking, or always overthinking, always like questioning myself. Thinking like I can't. What am I getting myself into here? I can't do this. And it's been like it's been hard. I still have times where I still have these thoughts and still think these things like I can't do this. I doubt myself every day. But it's been like hugely just diving into like personal development and all this kind of stuff, connecting with other people, like you guys, this your whole group and all the stuff that you guys put out is awesome. Like I was so thankful to have found that, because it's just connecting with people like this has done more for me than I think I could give credit to anything else. Because I think sometimes when you get surrounded by people who don't think like this, or people who haven't kind of come to this realization, and you have that every day, which most of us do in our life between work and our friends and family, it's almost impossible to switch your train of thought. And being around people, being able to openly talk with people about this and just leaning on them for ideas and inspiration has been by far the biggest change for me, because that was something like I did not have at all probably even 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, I really honor you for that, Tony, for getting on the show, live on Facebook and being able to share your story. Me and Cam do stuff like this like 5 days a week. We're on Facebook Live, and I definitely know where you're coming from. Where it's tough to kind of open yourself up to people who you're not entirely sure what they're gonna think. You're not entirely sure how they're gonna react. But yeah, the more you get comfortable and at peace and confident with yourself, the more it just kind of happens. It just kind of works. So thank you for sharing that. Actually, we got a question here from. Sorry, Cam, give her.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, once you begin to love yourself, you absolutely do not care what other people think. Truly, like we had a conversation with Yumi and Berge talking about how I drank my own piss, and here I am here I am on the internet telling everybody I drank my own piss. Because I trust myself, I love myself. I did it for a reason. It actually has health benefits when you're sick, when you have acne, stuff like that. So that's an example of how much I love myself, guys. I drank my own piss.
Cam just wanted you to know that. He just had
I did.
In there.
I did.
Just everybody knows.
That's a prime example. Most people would be like, "Oh my god, that is so embarrassing. You're disgusting." But like I don't care. Like it's like that one song by Mod Sun. Every time I look in the mirror, I melt. I love myself, man. Not in an ego way, but in a like I'm just proud of who I've become, and I'm never embarrassed. I could care less what people think, because I don't know. That's just an example, dude.
I don't know, man. There's something in the piss that made you all loopy or something.
Something in the piss, man. It's something in the piss.
Anyways, let's get back on track here.
Woo!
Got a question from Andrea for Tony. She says, we talked a bit about stepping out of the norm or not focusing so much on what other people expect from you. How did you deal with other people who may not have been supportive of the changes you were trying to make?
All right. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that was a hard one for me, because again, that was one of the things that held me back a ton. Like when I first started this whole thing, especially with, you know, like sharing, you know, a lot of it came from sharing like my journey in myself on social media, which was non-existent before I started doing this. And that was like one of my biggest concerns. And, you know, honestly, to Cam's point, like I just had to get to a point where like you know, convinced myself, or I realized that like I started loving myself enough to think that, you know, like, you know, their opinions, their thoughts aren't going to pay my bills. They're not going to, you know, control my happiness. They're not going to live my life. And if I want to truly be happy with me, then I need to do what's in my best interest, and I need to do, you know, what I'm meant to do, and, you know, live out my passions and my beliefs. And, you know, it took a lot to get there, but yeah, it was really just getting confident and comfortable enough with myself and realizing that, you know, nobody else was going to you know, make my life for me. Like I had to do that. And the only way I could do that was doing what I wanted to do and kind of just ignoring, like, either you're with me or you're not. But I really don't care anymore.
Yeah, man. Like, I love what you said there. It's really about choosing your own happiness and your own, you know, contentment, satisfaction, whatever you want to call it. Just choosing your own path. And then whoever's with you, they're with you. If they're not, like, you just kind of got to take it as a loss and let them go. Yeah, peace. So, that's awesome, man. So hey, if you guys have any questions for Tony, we're wrapping up. Well, we're not wrapping up. We got a few more minutes here left on the show. So if you have any questions, get them in right now. Get them in to Facebook Live. Get them. Okay, so I got a question for you, Tony.
Yeah.
What's life like right now? Now that you've made these changes, now that you've been able to break through some barriers and you have some belief in yourself. What's it like now? Like, do you still have trouble? Do you still have barriers that you got to break through? I mean, I know for me personally, every day is a new battle. Every day is a struggle, but like, I still, you know, I go at it every day with everything I can. And yeah, so I'm curious what it's like for you now that you've made all these changes. Now that you're like, you know, all over social media, you're like super, you made it big. Now you're on the Leading Life podcast. You're just like,
yeah, I mean, it's every day. Like I said, every day is still, you know, there's some kind of struggle. But I think the difference is now that, like, I kind of embrace that struggle instead of, you know, run from it or let it knock me down, because it is, you know, from maybe like 2 years ago to now is night and day. Like I think about it all the time, and I'm like, thank God, or, you know, whatever you want to say, that I'm not still back where I was 2 years ago and I got out of my own way. But they're still there every day, and I'm so thankful that I've come this far. Realize there's so much further to come, but like I said, I look at that as like a challenge. I embrace it and look at it as a challenge and like something I'm excited to do now, as opposed to something that I, you know, completely dreaded before and would do anything to avoid. And I think like that in itself kind of like speaks to like the switch that has been made. So that's kind of now like what, even like, you know, if anybody asks me, like I look forward to it. Like I still get them every day, but it's such a different challenge for me than it used to be.
yeah, man. Like, it's like you said, it's the day by day. Every single day, there's a new challenge to face. There's a new day. But, you know, when you take it one day at a time, you realize 2 years down the line, that's 600 something days, maybe 700 days. Things change like night and day. Like you said, I could do the same. I could look back 2 years ago and laugh. It's like, holy, how far have I come, man? But I could look back like last week and it wasn't really, you know, it's not that big of a change. But when you take it day by day, one day at a time, you know, one workout at a time, one meditation at a time, one podcast at a time, you really kind of, it all stacks on top of each other and it multiplies and it creates this big change in your life. So that's a great tip or nugget of knowledge you guys could take from Tony into your own lives, is every single day, take it one day at a time. Don't worry about where you'll be 2 years from now. Don't worry where you'll be 5-10 years from now. If you could just, you know, if you just work out today, if you could just get your meditation down today, and then tomorrow worry about what you're going to do tomorrow, but like focusing on today now will really help you kind of just get that momentum, and it just gets easier and easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, like like you said, then when looking back now, it seems like, you know, it's laughable almost. But like you said, one day at a time, like, you know, compound effect, like little adds up. And at the same time, if you stop doing it one day at a time, little, you know, you go the other way. So it's just, you know, just got to keep pushing a little bit at a time, for sure.
Yeah, Andrea says your struggle now is putting on a shirt and covering up the abs.
She
Oh,
is she when
life's tough.
when she was making the promo today. She sent me a message and asked me if they had any pictures with the shirt on.
Maybe just one, maybe one.
We
No,
found
but
it.
like,
We found it.
I don't blame you, man. Like, that's so inspiring to see. Like, I love seeing transformational journeys, like physical journeys, people who have, you know, maybe they were struggling in a certain year, maybe they're overweight or they were just underweight or whatever it is. And then they've been able to make it to a place that they're comfortable with and passionate. Like to get on Facebook right now and post a picture of me without a shirt on, I'd be, you know, fairly confident. But if I were to do that like a year, 2 years ago, oh my gosh, man, like I would not do it. I just wouldn't be able to, because I didn't have that kind of confidence in myself. I didn't have that kind of love. But yeah, it just comes with time and comes with working on it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's for me, it's all about the message too. Like, you know, like we joke about it, and you know, like with Andrew and everybody, like about like my shirtless pictures and all that stuff. But like, it's never, you know, just in a way to put it up there and do it just to do it. Like, you know what I mean? It's always, for me, it's always with a message, because like, what's the point if
Yeah,
you know,
for
I
sure.
don't want it to come off the wrong way.
Yeah, I love it because it's a way to inspire people, right? I mean, sometimes when I first started putting out videos like this on the internet, podcasts, or just me talking about life, is crazy because all the people in my life who I knew from like 2 years ago and before, they all look at me. I can't say they all look at me like this way, but I'm sure a ton of them look at me like I'm a freaking alien right now because I'm every single day, Monday to Friday, I'm posting, you know, podcasts. I'm here talking about life. I'm here talking about personal development, habits, routine, meditation, working out, like stuff that 2 years ago, if I did a podcast 2 years ago, it'd be about alcohol, drugs, partying, like it'd be just about the dumbest stuff, video games, conspiracy theories. And it's crazy how much things have changed. And it's what's even more crazy is like the people you can inspire on the internet. Like I haven't even realized like some of the podcasts I put up here, you don't know who's watching, right? You don't know who's looking at your posts and who's inspired by that. And that's why I keep doing it, is because I get inspiration from out of nowhere. I see a picture on Instagram or Facebook and it inspires me to go do something. Or other people see stuff that we put online and they just, it inspires them to go do something. So one of the questions I'd have is what's your plan for the future? Like you've been able to make all these changes. Where do you kind of see yourself going now that now that you got the ball rolling, now that you got some momentum?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I don't know for sure. Like, I definitely, you know, want to keep going down this path. But I mean, like, ultimately, we talked about a little more. It kind of started from a place of not being completely fulfilled with, you know, with my career and all that stuff. And, you know, so ultimately I'm trying to move away from that and just kind of, you know, make something around this and in this. Like, I'm still doing like my health and fitness coaching and, you know, this kind of mindset, personal development, like this whole kind of situation. Like, I want to, you know, make something with that. So I don't have anything specific. I'm kind of taking it as it comes, but, you know, always moving in that direction, because I think I've truly found something that I actually am fulfilled by. So we're going to keep going that way.
Yeah,
See,
man.
see
Yeah.
what happens.
So we're gonna have to wrap up. But
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I want to challenge you, Tony. If you could only give like one piece of advice, one amazing nugget of knowledge that you could pass on right now to the world, what would that be? What would that one thing be?
Yikes.
I told you it was a challenge.
Okay, I mean, I guess what I'm gonna say, like, after, you know, talking on this, is to I don't want to, like, you know, steal Nike's idea here and everything, but like just take action. for real, because I think that, you know, we talk about putting in, you know, all this personal work and, you know, identifying these barriers and believing in yourself and, you know, reading and learning and growing. And I love all that. But if you just sit on it and do nothing with it, it serves nobody, especially yourself. And that was a huge lesson I had to learn that we didn't talk about. So, like, if I could say one thing, is like all this good that you're doing for yourself and for the world is to just act, put it to use. Don't sit on it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, guys.
Yep.
Did you get that? Did you listen to that? All these podcasts that you've listened to, it's amazing.
Yes.
So good that you've listened, but make sure you take what we talk about and actually go try it. Use it. Figure out what works for you. Figure out, you know, what makes you happy, what kind of value you have, and use that. Because, I mean, I fall into this trap all the time, Tony, where I'm just like always, like, I'm reading books, I'm watching videos. I'm just obsessed with learning new things and growing, and it's literally an obsession for me. But what happens is I'm consuming all this stuff, and then half the time I don't use it all. So make sure you find that balance between what you're learning and what you're applying, what you're taking action on. So I love that, man. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, dude. I really appreciate it. We had a fun little episode today. We can talk about piss and stuff, and like, yeah, great episode. Aside from that, Cam, why don't you wrap us up, man? Actually, before we wrap up, Tony, where could our listeners find you if they want to learn more about your story and see some of the stuff you post on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but probably Facebook's easiest place to go. It's just my first and last name, Tony Krugel, on Facebook. It's where I put everything pretty much.
Perfecto. You heard it. Go check out Tony Krugel on Facebook. Make sure you go check out the podcast on iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook. I don't know if you've already heard it on Facebook. You might not want to go to iCloud or whatever, but you know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, Tony, for coming on the show. Thank you so much, Cameron, for everything you do. You're amazing. Thank you for the listeners. You guys are awesome too. Peace.
Thanks, Ed.